Hi guys, Jackdo here. Unpopular request, I am going to do another Weakspot walkthrough, and this time don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the T-54s, just in the garage for flair or something. I'm actually going to talk about, we're going to start with the Russian Type 4 tanks, and whoops, wrong button. I'm gonna talk mainly about the T-34-85, T-44. I chose to cover the IS-2-44 instead of the IS-2 because that's the hardest IS-2 to knock out. And then for these tanks, I'm just gonna concentrate on the Su-100 because they're all more or less the same. These tanks are actually based on IS-2 chassis, but they're weakly armored. They only have 90 millimeters of armor, and if you can hit these tanks where there's not the gun mantlet, you will knock out the tank. So there's no need really for covering those. But we'll start off by having a look at the T-44. You might notice that the front hull and the low glacis of the tank are pretty well angled, and they're hard to pierce even with the high rank for German tanks. So I would recommend you not to fire at these bits at all, but to concentrate on the turret. And I'm gonna bring up the armor. Although the armor thickness here around the gun is quite thick, there's a lot of armor here. If you look at the gun from head-on angle, the armor on the 9 o'clock, or let's say the 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock angle from the gun, and the 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock angle from the gun all the way out to the side here is pretty non-sloped. So if we look at the turret from the side here, you can see that there's not much of an angle, and if you hit the tank here, you will probably penetrate. Let's say that you're in a King Tiger tank, you will knock out the tank by firing into front of the turret. Tanks such as the Panther will have a greater or a harder time to penetrate here. It's more reliable to penetrate the tank in the front of the turret instead of trying to penetrate this kind of sloped bit, especially if the tank is angled in a weird way, like here you have 230 millimeters that you need to penetrate, and 200 at the low glacis, so don't bother with doing that. So try to go for the turret at all times. You see here you have an effective thickness of 121 on each side, and that's a lot better than 160, 170 something at the hull. Also, a thing you want to remember when facing the T-44 is to try to hit the turret at the lower part of the turret. If you hit that, the shells might bounce into the tank, and that will, if you're lucky, it will hit ammo. It might render gunner, commander unconscious, and depending on what kind of angle you're penetrating the tank, it might cause all sorts of trouble. Preferably what you want to do is, oh, what's that? Fuel tank, okay. What you want to do is that you want to cause a bounce that will go into this fuel tank or any of the ammo racks. If you hit those, that will knock out the tank. So those are the basics when it comes to encountering the T-44. So if you hit the tank from the side, it doesn't really have much of protection against enemy fire, so you will probably knock out the tank if you face the T-44 from this angle. We don't really need to look at where you should aim, because if you penetrate the tank from this angle, there's a lot of critical components on the tank that will get knocked out. Over to IS-2 44. In this case, it's more or less the same. What you want to concentrate on hitting is the area around the gun, which is also pretty non-sloped, and look here, only 100 millimeters thick. So an IS-2 that is hauled down is an easy kill if you hit it. It might be hard, but if you hit it, you will knock out the tank. Don't mind trying to penetrate this area. It's no use. Shells will bounce unless you're very close. You might have a better time penetrating these bits on the side of the add-on armor. The armor is only around 130 millimeters thick. Another thing that had happened to me is that I've been hit here, and that had caused a bounce inside the cupola or the viewports, and caused the shell to bounce into the tank, hitting ammo racks and killing multiple crews and what have you, even knocking out the radiator and engine. So that might also be a sweet spot for a shot if you get the opportunity. Don't try to hit these bits on the side unless the tank is angled like this. Then it's a huge weak spot on this tank. If it's slightly angled, go for this bit or the lower part of the turret here. That will be a killing blow. But if you face the tank from a head-on view, just try to go for the low glazes or the area around the gun. So over to the SU-100, and this is the tank that shares the same hull as the T-34-85. It's basically the same tank, but this is the tank destroyer version. And you have some classic, whoa, what happened to the gun? No, we can't get it back. Okay, let's review the tank in this mode then. When facing this tank from the front, I tend to aim for the driver's hatch. It seems to do the trick most of the times. That will knock out the SU-100. You can also go for a lower glazes penetration shot, or if you want an upper glazes shot wherever the armor is flat. So it all comes down to not hitting the gun mantlet and the curved angles up here. Those will probably bounce a shell. And if you look at the X-ray vision, you see that you want to hit the tank pretty smack bang in the middle, because if you do, you will knock out a lot of the crewmen, and you might cause other critical component damage. But if you look at the driver's hatch here on the side, my favorite weak spot, if you hit that, you will knock out the driver, and you might as well, depending on the angle, hit the ammo rack, and that's a killed tank. From the side, there's nothing much to mention, but that, yeah, you see this tank has almost no armor whatsoever at the side, so just go for whatever you feel like. Obviously this area up here contains ammo racks and crew, and if you hit this, you will kill the tank. But if you hit this area back here, you have fuel tanks and engine and radiators, and that will also knock out the tank. So if you get the shot on the side of the SU-100, just take it. You will knock out the tank if you penetrate the armor. So T-34-85, more or less the same thing as the SU-100 when it comes to the hull. Go for a driver's hatch shot you might also want to aim for the machine gun port here. I would not favor a shot at the lower glacis because it's a small target. Just try to aim wherever you can, where there's no spaced armor, like here or up here. These windows tend to bounce shots for some weird reason. I'm guessing they're angled or something, and they act as spaced armor. Let's have a look at the armor overall layout, and you can see here 45mm of armor. That's nothing against a German rank 4 cannon, so you may hit this thing wherever you like. You can also hit it in the turret around the gun, and a thing that the T-34-85 has that's a huge drawback if you compare the tank to the T-34-42 model is that it has a larger turret ring, and if you hit that you will cause all kinds of critical damage. So you can go for a shot on that as well. You see here there's a lot of crewmen in the turret, and there's also, if you go through the crewmen, you may hit ammo racks at the back. That will knock out the tank. If you go for the driver's hatch, you will knock out driver, gunner, commander, and after that possibly hit radiator or the engine. You might as well hit the ammo rack here. That's the end of the tank. So for instant kill when firing at the front, it might actually be a good idea to aim for these bits if you're not firing high explosive anti-tank shells, because that will penetrate the hull, will cause a hit in the ammo rack on the floor of the tank. So that's a big target to hit, and you might also stall the tank by killing the driver. Killing the machine gunner has no effect on the tank, so don't go for that. There's also fuel tanks on the side here that you might want to aim for, but I will go for a low shot on the ammo rack or a high shot on the turret ring, or as I said, the driver's hatch here, because all those shots might kill the tank and knock it out. So that's all for the Russian tanks, and I'll soon be back with Germans.